You don't have an interpreter of the Quran.
We have 6 ways, you can say around 5-6 ways to explain the Quran. First is explaining the Quran with the Quran. Allah says in chapter 3 of the Quran, verse 7, that you have foundational verses of the Quran and verses which have more than one meaning. And the people who have diseases in their heart, they go to the verses which have more than one meaning and they pick, like they try to misinterpret the verse so they can follow something evil. But Allah tells us what we can do. We have foundational verses in the Quran, clear, explicit, and verse which has 2 meanings. One aligns with the rest of the verses and one doesn't. So you interpret that verse in line with the other verses. That's the right way of interpreting the Quran. Interpreting the Quran with the Quran. That's the first way. The second way to interpret the Quran or understand the Quran is the Sunnah, is the life of the Prophet, is his tradition, what he taught us. Allah tells us in the Quran explicitly that the Prophet, Allah sent down revelation, dhikr, the reminder to the Prophet so he can explain the Quran. Allah also says in the Quran that the Prophet will teach us the Quran. He will teach us the wisdom. He will teach us how to understand and apply this religion. And Allah tells us in the Quran that we have in the Prophet the best of examples. In the Prophet Muhammad, we have the best of example of how to practice our tradition and religion. So first, here is the first interpreter. We don't need, for example, a pope, because the Prophet already showed us. A prophet, a messenger of God, which is higher than a pope, or an imam, or a sheikh, or whatever. The last and final messengers already showed us how to practice the religion. Then we have his companions. The companions of the Prophet. Allah says also, again, in chapter 9 of the Quran, verse 100, that the first group of companions from the people who migrated and the people who supported the Prophet, if we follow them, Allah will be pleased with us. So following the companions and their example as a whole, well, Allah will be pleased with us if we do. Why? Companions were there when the revelation was coming down. The Quran was revealed in 23 years, by the way. So the companions were there when the Quran was coming down. So they saw the reasons of relation, the context, and all of that. They were also the direct students of the Prophet, of course. So he taught them how to understand the verses of the Quran, and he explained the Quran to them.